Good morning and welcome to Living Local 15. I'm Jessica Williams. Thank you for joining me on this Monday. Let's kick it off with some motivation. Here's the quote. Success, they taught me, is built on the foundation of courage, hard work, and individual responsibility. Despite what some would have us believe, success is not built on resentment or fears. This is such a great reminder that hard work, taking risks, and doing your best will always pay off. It doesn't matter what other people think. If you are called into this world for a purpose, keep focused on that and never let fear stop you. Hard work and consistency will always pay off. On today's show, we are exploring the fabulous new art exhibit at Trinity English Lutheran Church. This is a riveting body of art that is open to the whole community. And later, we are joined by Summit Physical Therapy to learn all about proper healing after an injury. Are you ready? Let's get started.
Fashion, food, and fun. You're watching Living Local 15 with your host, Jessica Williams.
I am here at Trinity English Lutheran Church to explore their brand new exhibit called Icons and Transformation, composed by a contemporary artist taking you on a journey. And I'm taking you on the inside. Let's do it. Joining me is Senior Pastor Irdos. Hi, how are you?
Hello, good to be with you. Thanks for joining us here at Trinity.
Yes, it's so nice to be here and to see this beautiful exhibit that you all have on display. And you are diving into just a new experience,
absolutely,
bringing in this contemporary artwork.
Correct.
So please share with us an overview about this exhibit.
Icons and Transformation. The artist who brought her art here, Lyudmila Pavlovska, she's Ukrainian by birth, Kazakh by nationality, living in Sweden. And she did all of this artwork based on her spirituality, her growth in spirituality, also with a jumping off point of traditional Orthodox iconography, which is a whole artistic, spiritual journey for the Orthodox Christian Church.
That's wonderful. And just, you know, bringing in an exhibit that you all have never had here before, which I think is so cool, just to change it up and to give your members just a different experience. And really the community can come in as a whole to experience it. So how was that journey deciding to put this artwork up?
Well, honestly, they sent us an email and said, here's what we do. Would you be interested in us coming to your place and setting this up? And as we looked at the art that Mila creates and writes and speaks with, we thought this is a great opportunity for us in this church, for us in our community. There are probably few churches in the city that are as traditional looking as this one. You know, that the art and the architecture is about as traditional church as you're going to find anywhere in the city. So this chance is to say, how do we have a contemporary artist who's speaking of spirituality, who's speaking of God, come to us and help us hear in new ways, help us see in new ways.
Absolutely. And there are 192 pieces
I know,
here.
it's a lot.
Yes,
it's huge.
A lot. It is. And as we were walking around and you were showing me the exhibit, I was just falling in love with how she utilizes textures and brings it 3D, and it just really speaks to you.
Yeah. You know, for me, one of the tragedies of contemporary church is that we forget how to talk to people and with people in this moment.
Yes.
Right? We have traditional art in our churches, and it makes us feel comfortable, and it says something. All right, you can be beautiful, it can have statements, but it doesn't speak to some of the things that are going on in our hearts and our minds and our souls right now. As you saw, her use of color and the way she displays that, and some of those even very traditional things, just like how it grabs you because it doesn't look in traditional ways. Yes. You know, you're forced to see these things. There are a few, I think we saw a few art pieces that her ethnicity is Ukrainian. So there are some of those pieces that have bullet casings, shell casings, that come from Ukraine and the war that's going on. And to see that integrated in art is, for those of us who don't travel to Ukraine, we see the pictures on the evening news, but you know, there's a reality to that, which is trying to engage us. And the same for all of the other art.
Right, and utilizing the dual colors of the blue and gold.
You know, there's a lot of blue and gold here.
Yes, and as you said, just bringing the artwork to life. And what I love about art is that you can look at it and kind of interpret something on your own, and someone next to you could see something totally different or get a different meaning from it.
Correct. And you know, and I think that's one of the great things. You know, if you go and look at Michelangelo or a Raphael or a Leonardo, everybody's going to tell you what you got to see there, right? Because we've been looking at it for 500 years. You know, that's what you're going to see inside of that painting. Here, nobody's telling you what to see. You're looking, you're experiencing, you're feeling that for yourself. And it might be, for you, it might be different than for me.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's take a look further.
Yeah.
Piece as it just jumps off of the wall.
Yeah, it really does, doesn't it? Yeah.
Like it.
A lot of people from the parish who have seen this already are really drawn to this. And inside of there, she was saying to me when Mila was here, that what she's trying to use is the shape of the cross is a somewhat traditional Orthodox shape of a cross. And then all of the paints are traditional icon colors, like the gold, which is supposed to be about the light of God, the reds and the blues and the greens, all of those are then intermixed back into this in a much more abstract but very textured kind of way. I mean, just I don't know, maybe feeling is a good word when you see that thick texture of that paint mixed in together. Red is a traditional color for Jesus. Blue is a traditional color for Mary. Green, you know, for the prophets and the saints. You know, that sense of all of these things mixing here together.
Right. What I love about it is that it gives a kind of, the vibrant colors gives an excitement or like a celebration of the crucifixion, you know, as just something to remember in the good, you know. I think that it just makes it, I don't know, just kind of joyful.
Yeah, well, you know, at least part of some traditional Christian theology says that the church is born out of the death and resurrection of Jesus. And, you know, so you see kind of coming out of that traditional shape then this kind of powerful, you know, vibrant life that is tied together with that story.
Yes. So, Pastor, this exhibit is on display all throughout your church, and it's 2 stories. And right now we're walking through your beautiful sanctuary, and the artwork is on display here, which is so nice. So let's talk about just the connectivity that the artists have brought with the crucifixion of Jesus Christ and just levels of his life.
Yeah, I think, you know, what's obviously, you could use the word, this is a sacred space in the building complex. And what she's showing here, she's brought into this space a number of pieces which reflect, there's a nativity icon, a traditional nativity icon, a traditional crucifixion icon, and those kind of blend with the very traditional images here, but then also the Virgin and the Child is in here, but then there are a few pieces from depicting the crucifixion in some new ways, I hear. And these two, and some of them involve limestone, which is ancient rock. And I mean, this building is filled up with Indiana limestone. You know, so this sense of how do we, I'd hate to say that we get lazy. you sit in a place like this and it looks lovely, and yeah, it is. But after a while, you just kind of like, it's there.
Right.
It's there. Yeah, it's lovely. When you go to church, we sit in here. I pass through here on a daily. But some of this helps us to then think harder and reimagine, right?
And just have an appreciation for the story and just retell it. So I know that she's really big on fresh ideas.
Correct.
And some of these pieces she's been creating over a decade, but there are new pieces that she recently created, correct?
Yeah, that is correct. I think all of them are signed and dated. Like this one says 2009.
Yes.
So she's working on something, in 2009 to see the similarities of that, but the change that kind of happens with some of that. So
Right. Yeah, it's so cool. I mean, she's just such a talented artist. I mean, even when I look at this piece here that combines just the levels, but then she uses this texture, like this cloth, through the seeing eye, and then of course, stone or whatever piece of work. I mean, so it's so cool to bring this to life here.
Yeah, it just kind of jumps out at you. There are a couple of pieces that hang on the walls here, coming into what would be called the chancel area. And again, this kind of new, vibrant color kind of.
Yes, that's awesome.
Leaping out at you.
Everyone can come in and experience this.
Correct. It is open to everybody.
Yes, and it's going to run through September 10th.
Yes, through Be a Tourist. Through Be a Tourist. We will be open on Be a Tourist Day, Be a Tourist in your own hometown.
Yes.
That'll be the last day that you can come and see it, but to come and spend some time here.
Free admission, which is great.
Absolutely.
And so people can go to your website to learn more about the hours and when they can come and experience the art.
Correct. Or even any time that we're open for worship, you can come and spend some time.
Okay,
and come many times.
Yes.
Come many times. Yeah.
Well, it's such a pleasure to meet you,
It's good
Pastor,
to meet you.
Thank you for giving us a tour.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for helping us promote this to the people of our city, and so that they can come and be part of this as well.
Be part of it, yes. Thank you so much. And if you would like more information about the Icons in Transformation exhibit here at Trinity English Lutheran Church, we'll have their website listed below, and we'll be right back.
Have an idea for the show? Want to find out how you can be a guest? Contact us at livinglocal15@wayne.com.
This segment sponsored by Summit Physical Therapy. Today we are going to discuss the phases of healing after an injury or surgery, and we have experts here, physical therapist Andreas Lomar and Austin Jacoby from Summit Physical Therapy to share more. Hello.
Hi.
How are you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Okay, so this is something that people face all the time. They either get injured or unfortunately have to have surgery. And yet there is so much that they don't know about the healing process. So share with me a little bit about the importance of healing properly.
So the one formula that people are probably most often familiar with is the RICE concept, the rest, ice, compression, elevation. And in recent years, we kind of had to maybe rethink a little bit of what comes after that, because that all is okay, and there's nothing wrong with that in the initial phase. But what it's really not addressing is, how do we get back to function? So what we see quite often is that I might see somebody in his 40s who strained his hamstring in high school and says, yeah, from time to time this still bothers me. And so there's a point in the healing process that they missed, and that is that return to function. And I'll have Austin elaborate a little bit on that as well.
Yes, well, you should share with us about that, how our muscles work and how what we miss sometimes with the tissues.
Yeah, an analogy I like to use is a lot of times our muscles are supposed to align, and they align in a way that's organized, where when a muscle contracts, it comes together, and then when it stretches it comes apart, but if it comes too far apart you get a tear. Well, our tissue is designed to bring new nutrients and bring cells into the area that lay down new tissue, so we heal. And so the rice formula he was talking about, the icing to get swelling down and to get things to calm down where you're not painful is great, but once that new tissue lays down, you know, it looks a lot more like tangled hair. And it's not real pretty. It doesn't look like what the muscle used to look like. But the pain is gone. So you go back and I think there's two different types of people. There's some people that are more fearful and they're like, oh, I have a bad leg now, or I can't do this because my bad hamstring, and they just continue to go down that path of avoidance. Or the person who's like, hey, I'm pain-free, I think I can go back and play ball. But they've got this tangled hair tissue. And so coming into Summit Physical Therapy, you get the guidance of what can I do when and as fast as possible. And so if we introduce movement, specific movement, you know, so a hamstring tear, you don't necessarily want to go and fully stretch your hamstring. You know, that just happened to it. Let's not do that again. But can we introduce movement to get back to function, and how do you know that you're ready to go without having a re-injury? And that's where we specialize.
And Andreas, so you say that you all have been looking at this process and just trying to see what are the next steps after rice. So what did you discover? What are the next steps?
So as Austin just explained, so once this new tissue lays itself down and you have this tangled hair mess, you oftentimes no longer have pain, and that's where the patient oftentimes they confuse, when I say they confuse asymptomatic with healed. Just because you don't have symptoms doesn't mean you're healed and you can do whatever you want. So there's no proper, what we refer to as the proper progression of forces. It's a little bit like breaking in an engine. So you don't get a new car and take it on the highway and gun it. So what we help the patient do is get this tissue from this tangled hair stage to a stage where all the fibers align again. Because if they don't, this tangled tissue is sort of the proverbial weakest link in the chain. So when, you know, I see a patient who said, well, I haven't done anything in 6 weeks, and then I went for a jog. And my question is, so where's the progression? So you do nothing, and then you go for a jog, and now you re-tear it. Now you have that tangled tissue torn again. Now new collagen comes in, lays itself down, and the scar becomes, you know, manifests itself. So that's why sometimes these things become chronic, because somebody has failed to go through these proper progressions of forces. I find it interesting that, you know, animals injure themselves in the woods, and they don't have the time for rice, you know. They don't have the time for all of that. They just literally walk it off. And they oftentimes, they manage to regain function because they have to load these tissues because they have a predator right behind them.
And they probably don't have access to the ice either.
Right.
Yes, and so through this process, the main message is knowing that you have to do more outside of your first state of healing, that there are more phases that are involved, and that's what's so important about having a physical therapist to help guide them through it.
And loading some of these tissues will reproduce a small amount of pain. In fact, we almost don't want it to be pain-free. We often say, we want your pain to be about a 3 out of 10. We don't want you to do a hamstring stretch that causes you an 8 or a 9 out of 10. You're just re-tearing what's just barely trying to heal. So guiding patients through these different phases is critical, and there's no schedule where you can say, oh, at 2 weeks you do this, at 4 weeks you do this. No, we load the tissues and we see what response we get, and according to the response, we guide the patient along. So there's no cookbook.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing about this. We definitely have to revisit and talk more about this topic. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
And if you would like more information about Summit Physical Therapy, we'll have their website listed below, and I'll see you after the break. This segment sponsored by Summit Physical Therapy.
Follow us on social media at Living Local 15.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed the show. And remember, you can always rewatch episodes of Living Local 15 on WANE.com and by downloading the WANE app. As you go throughout your day, do it fearlessly, strive for your goals, and make it a good one. I look forward to seeing you here tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Living Local 15, proudly driven by the Kelly Automotive Group. Go to the Living Local 15 page on WANE.com for recipes from the show, to watch a segment again, and to get information on products and services featured on Living Local 15. Follow us on social media at Living Local 15. Content segments during today's Living Local 15 were paid for by these sponsors.